Hi, this is Brandon Moon with Moonlit Fly Fishing. We want to welcome you to our fly tying night tonight. Tonight we're going to be tying up the Black Widow variation of the Tungsten Torpedo Nymph Series. This is a great little attractor pattern tied in a variety of different sizes. Tied in the 14 and 16, it's a great little black stonefly nymph to fish during the winter and early spring months. So with that, we want to go ahead and get started into our tutorial today. The hook we're going to be using tonight is the Moonlit Premium Tota ML501 standard forged jig hook. This is a little stronger hook than a standard wired hook, makes it great for this fly. The bead we're using is a Moonlit slotted tungsten matte black in a 3.0 millimeter. As you can see, the thread that we use, we create that tag end to help us create a nice smooth underbody, moving every wrap next to the previous wrap. We're going to take our Seir Fly Classic Wax 12/0 thread in black and lay that base foundation down all the way to the bend of the hook, where we're going to go just a little bit past and create a little bit of a bump. This bump that we just created is going to help us flare out our Goose Biot tail. We're using Seir Fly's black, and you can see that tail is naturally, because the two Goose Biot fibers are pointing away from each other with the natural curvature. We'll measure the tail out to be about half the length of the hook shank, and we'll secure that down with some loose wraps where we can make sure we get that on where we need it to. Over the top we'll do a couple wraps, and then in front a couple wraps to lock that in place. At that point we're just going to kind of lock it down, just a few more wraps, and now we'll cut out the Goose Biots to where they're going to go up just behind that bead of the hook, or the bead at the front of the hook. Now we'll take some wraps and finish securing that down, creating our underbody. We're going to secure that all the way up into the bead here. Once we're finished securing that down, we're going to take Seir Fly's Black Sparkle 1/69 inch tinsel. We're going to lock that down with a few loose wraps, and as we're wrapping back with some more loose wraps, we're going to be pulling that tinsel forward until it comes to the back of that bead and is fully covered. We're then going to take some more wraps going back. As I start this, I didn't actually get back to the back, but we'll finish and take care of that in a second. I'll place my tinsel over my material clip and then back forward. I'm going to create a taper with my thread here, but before I start tapering that, I'm going to make sure that I go all the way to the back of the bend and that bulge. Now I'm going to go forward and create my taper, going forward and backward, stopping short of my previous thread wraps each time to create a nice taper to this body. I do want a slim profile, but I do want a nice good taper to this, just kind of like I would on a perdigon. And once I've made that taper that I like, I'm going to take and half hitch this thread so that I can use my rotary feature to wrap my tinsel. I'm just going to take that tinsel, I have it in a bodkin right here, a bobbin, and I'm going to hold that so that I can keep that tinsel nice and flat as I wrap it forward with touching wraps. You can see this vise has a nice center axis, zero axis, giving me nice smooth wraps. This is the Nirvana V2 rotary vise. I'll wrap that all the way up to the bead of the hook where I'll secure that off. I'll go over the top with two wraps before I go and lock it in front. Once I've done that, I'll take some scissors and I'll trim the tinsel out. We'll make sure that I get a nice good trimming. I'll just make sure and lock any pieces down that I can with my thread. Trim out that one last little piece. Use my thread to kind of lock it down a little bit more. Half hitch again. This is where I'm going to take some Solarize UV glue or UV resin in the thin hard. And I'm just going to put a little dab on the top of this. You'll see a nice little bulge there. I don't need a lot, just a little bit, and then I'm going to take and do the same thing on the other side. Now I'll take my bodkin and I'll smooth this out over my body here, and this is going to make my fly more durable and sleek. Cut through the film of the water and sink a little bit better with this nice smooth sleek body. Once I've got that resin moved over, I'm going to rotate it just to help kind of even it out a little bit, and take my UV pin, adjustable pin light, and cure this with a few turns just to make sure I cure it nice and good. Now we're going to take and create our thorax and our legs right here. So I'll take my thread and I'm just going to go back, and this thorax is roughly about going to be a little bit smaller than a bead's length. I've got the black peacock vicuna dubbing, and you can see it's not a very big clump, very small. And I'm just going to go on the very back side of that thorax section there to create a little bump to help flare out my legs that I'm going to tie in. I have 2 more Semperfli black goose biots. I'm going to tie these legs in one at a time. So I'll take, and you can see there's a natural curvature just like on the tail. I want that curvature to face away from the hook, and I'm going to measure it out to be just down to the bend of the hook, and I'll secure that down with 2 wraps over the top. I can maneuver the placing and angle of that biot. Once I have it where I want, I'll lock it in place in front with 2 wraps, and then I'll do the exact same thing on the opposite side of the hook. 2 wraps over the top just to kind of secure it down. I can adjust that angle just a little bit. Now I'm going to lock that in once I have it where I want in front, and that just helps lock this in place. Now we'll trim out our biots. It's never going to go all the way. You'll see there's going to be a little bit of a bulge, but I'll use my dubbing to help cover that up. I'll put another small amount of vicuna black peacock dubbing again, and I'll just dub that on to create a nice small dubbing rope. You can use Overton's dubbing wax if you'd like. I'm going to wrap in front of those biot ends to help push them back, and then cover them up with my dubbing here. A few wraps to help create the little thorax or just in front of the thorax. Now we'll take our whip finish and we'll whip finish this with 3 or 4 turns, and then we'll do another set of 3 or 4 whips just to help make this fly a little more durable. You can apply head cement or some super glue at this point as well. We'll trim out the fibers. See, there's a few long fibers in there, and we just want to trim those out so that they're nice in proportion. We want a buggy look, but we don't want them to be too long. So with that, we want to thank you for watching our video today. If you find any value, we'd greatly appreciate it if you liked the video, left us a comment, hit the subscribe and the bell to receive future notifications. Thank you again for watching. Have a wonderful evening.